So Errol Spence posted this video on X the other day where he was in hospital having just had eye surgery. This is the second known eye surgery that Errol Spence has had. The first one was for a detached retina, I believe. This one was to remove a cataract. Now, I'm no expert on eye health or anything like that, but I had assumed that cataracts was something that mainly affected elderly people, and it was quite rare for a young, healthy athlete to be getting cataracts. So is this due to the crash? Has it got something to do with that or not? If you're an expert when it comes to eye health, you let me know in the comment section below. But whatever the case may be, it's obviously not good going into a potential rematch with Terence Crawford. I mean, he got the brakes beat off him first time. If he's having eye surgery going into the rematch, oh dear. So let's have a look at what Errol Spence said about it. He said, "It's been past due." He's talking about having the eye surgery. He said, "It was covering my eye, as in the cataract. Why do you think I got hit with so many jabs and hooks? Still a great performance, bro," by Terence Crawford. He goes on to say, "I mean, everything I've been through throughout these 2 years, 3 years, I should be the underdog. You can kill the retirement talk. Yeah, I got my butt beat, but that was past due. I didn't live exactly like a boxer for the most part." Those are the words of Errol Spence. Now, years ago, before the crash, I was saying that I was concerned about the way he was living his life because he was turning up to boxing events and press conferences bloated, drunk, and so on. And you know what fanboys are like. Any criticism, no matter how valid, even if it's coming from a place of being constructive, they get angry at you and they deny all the things that you're saying. So I was saying that Spence looked drunk and he looked bloated at these press conferences, and that's not a good sign for his longevity as a top-level fighter. And these people were attacking me saying he's not drunk. There's no problem with him gaining a bit of weight in between fights. He has to relax. He can't be in shape all the time, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to affect him long-term. Shortly after that, he had that tough fight against Sean Porter. And then he had that terrible car accident where he nearly died. And it turned out that he was drunk when he was driving his car. So we could see it. The Errol Spence was going down a bad path. Let's just put it that way. And you do wonder about why Spence has decided to go down that road in his life. Spence, to my knowledge, wasn't a street guy growing up. He was kind of a good kid that was just dedicated to boxing. And so a guy like Errol Spence, who comes into money through his talent, through boxing, goes to the nightclubs and he's socializing with people. And maybe in order to try and fit in, because he's a little bit of a square, I don't know, socially maybe, he starts emulating the behavior and the practices of these people. So he doesn't look so much like a square. So he wants to let his hair down around them. He wants to show that, he can make it rain and do all this stuff in the club, blah, blah, blah. So it's just an idea. It's just a thought I had as to why he chose to go down that road. Because you see a guy like Terence Crawford, who grew up in a rough environment, who's been shot, who's been through all kind of stuff. He got that out of his system because that's how he grew up. Errol Spence has almost done the opposite, right? Grew up a bit of a square. Now he wants to try and fit in with the crowd. So that was Errol Spence's undoing from a health perspective, because he's never going to be the same after that accident he had. And he'll perhaps never be the same after the beating that Terence Crawford put on him. There's a lesson for fighters out there and for people out there in general. I'm not saying that the reasons for Errol Spence going down the path he went down were the exact reasons that I've just outlined, but it's possible. Okay, that's why I'm putting it out there as a possibility. And so if you want to be the best at something, then you have to resist these outside influences. You have to not feel insecure that you need to prove something to people socially. Going out, raving in clubs, drinking, staying out late, these things are not compatible with long-term success at the elite level in boxing. You have to choose one or the other. How much do you really want to be the best? How much do you want to make the most out of your talent in boxing? Maybe Errol Spence didn't want it that much. Maybe that's why he was willing to risk it. Maybe he doesn't want it as much as Terence Crawford, who really had to get it out the mud. Because with Errol Spence, early on in his career, he seemed to have that kind of discipline. But it's when he became champion, after he beat Kell Brook, that's when things started going left. When he started getting big paychecks. Whereas with Terence Crawford, he was a blue-collar fighter for so long. He was out in the wilderness for so long, getting frozen out, not making the big money. Maybe that was part of what kept him on the straight and narrow as well. He was always chasing the big money, so he had to stay on job. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Errol Spence having eye surgery again, this time for a cataract. Surely this spells disaster for him in the Terence Crawford rematch. It would be one of the most extraordinary things I've ever seen in boxing if Errol Spence, after multiple eye surgeries and all the injuries and the terrible beating he took against Terence Crawford, were to come back and win the rematch, or even just do a lot better in the rematch than he did in the first fight. That would be extraordinary to me. I'm expecting, if the rematch goes ahead anytime soon, and surely Errol Spence is going to need several months to recover from the cataract surgery. You know, some people are going to say, well, perhaps that cataract was a serious issue in the first Terence Crawford fight, and he will be much better now that he's got the cataract removed. Well, we'll see about that. But I'm just thinking about the trauma to his body, more trauma to his eyes. Surgery is traumatic to the body. You're literally cutting and inserting things. I think he's having some kind of lens inserted into his eye. All this stuff potentially could cause extra swelling when he gets hit, or swelling more quickly, so on and so forth. I'm expecting, if the rematch happens anytime soon, Errol Spence to get absolutely destroyed again. The only caveat I'll add is that Terence Crawford is getting up there in age, and they're keeping him inactive. The inactivity doesn't benefit either of them, of course, but it would be good to see Terence Crawford get out for even a non-title run out. But fighters don't seem to do that these days. Champions don't seem to do that. Back in the days, they would have non-title run outs all the time. But with the current generation of champions, they don't often do that. Obviously, Tyson Fury did it with Francis Ngannou, but most other champions don't do it. I think they should. Maybe these champions are too greedy. Maybe their teams don't like the risk. I don't know what it is. But when you're going into a big fight, you want to be as sharp as possible. And if you're as good as Terence Crawford, you and your team should have enough confidence that you can deal with a little tune-up guy. But then again, maybe he's not legally able to. Maybe it's Spence's team and contractual obligations that will prevent Terence Crawford from fighting anyone next other than Errol Spence. But there has to be some type of time limit on it, surely. You can't keep the guy out the ring for a year and then say, yeah, now we're going to do the rematch. That's killing his career. So anyway, that's an aside. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast, where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.